Good afternoon, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. We're at 4760 Southeast White Lake Road here in Milwaukee. Located just to the right of the front doorway. Got a 4-inch ABS cleanout. We're going to check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. Water's running, so this is one of these cleanouts. It crosses underneath the front patio quite a ways. So the line does not actually come out of the house right over the top of the cleanout. It comes out closer to where the left side of the door frame is. Anyway, we're going to zero out right here where we tie in. Water's running, and we're going to zero out. Off we go. Transitioning here into 4-inch PVC. Got a little stringy thing there coming off that joint. What that looks like is just hair. When I follow that back to the pipe joint, I don't really see anything crossing the pipe joint through it. Transitioning here to 4-inch cast iron. Thus far, nice looking sewer line, it's very clean. This looks like where the line's probably leveling off here. Is it? We might be just before a transition joint here. Yep, there it is. Those are very, very common locations to get standing water, especially when you have that nosedive configuration like that. We'll revisit that spot here in just a moment. Take another look at it. Anyway, we're into 6-inch concrete pipe now. To get a little further out here, my camera wants to ride up against the wall, not right in the flow line. There is not much water going through the. Oh, now we've got some catching up here. That water flow really cut out there for a moment. I don't know that I've gone through any debris dams big enough to hold that much water back. Anyway, what that can be, I've been doing this for 13 years now. I've cameraed a lot of sewer lines, and when you get older concrete pipe joints, like right now the water's kind of starting to stop again. What can happen with these old pipe joints, they can become exposed to the ground, and houses that sit vacant for a while where water's not going to the line very frequently, it's actually the most ideal way to catch what I'm kind of getting to anyway. The ground around the pipe can be dried out, and water will escape the sewer line very easily up until the ground around the pipe gets saturated with water. Once water can't escape the line and get accepted into the saturated dirt very easily, the water continues to move on just fine like nothing's going on. I've had enough water flow cut in and out here. I'm getting kind of suspicious you've got some pipe joints in here that are doing that. I think I've had more than once now, 2 or 3 times, where the water flow has stopped and then started again. And there is some buildup in the concrete pipe, don't get me wrong, but none of it looked quite significant enough to halt the water flow for that long until it overwhelmed it. So anyway, we've hit the main connection here, it looks like. We're tying right into a manhole. We're going to go locate real quick here while the pipe drains. Alright, so just located the camera head way down the street. If you go down the road about... Well, I'll try and show it with the camera here. We're sitting in front of the White House that's down the road from us. There's a manhole there. This line also, if I recall at the top of my head, the house adjacent to us over here with the flag lot, I feel like I scoped that line a few years back. And it's hard to see when we first go into there because of just the murkiness of the line and the water flow. But I think the line actually, we may be hitting the main a lot sooner than where we're at right there. When you're on the end of a road like this, your line does not always tee onto a main lateral. It can often be the very first line on the main, and it's continuous with the main lateral, and I think that's what we've got here. When we get closer in, I'll watch for it, but shortly after entering into the road, I think we're going to see another line tie-in. And I've got kind of a nasty light glare on my screen right now with the lighting conditions out. There's also the possibility there was another tie-in that came in just before the manhole there. I'll have to review this in better lighting at home. But anyway, if that's the case, if we pick up another line closer into where the line enters into the roadway, the line here is likely to be much shorter, at least what you're responsible for, than out to 117 feet. Yep, there it is right there on the left side. You have a line that coming in right there at about 56 feet. So I'm not entirely sure where your responsibility starts and stops in a circumstance like this. It may very well be right as you hit the concrete pipe here, at least at that portion of the line where the other house intersects into it. So I'm mostly going to focus on the piping out to that point there, because everything from that point and beyond becomes essentially a city main, and we would likely be in city responsibility at that point. That joint there looks good just before the Y connection, as does the one immediately past the cast iron transition. Looks clean. So we do have some standing water at the base of this drop right here. I'm going to pull back here for just a moment and take a look at the how the line's looking prior to this point. And so you've got a little bit of debris film in the flow line, and I like to see that. That generally means this line has not been cleaned preemptively. Depends on how good someone does on a job like that too, but this looks like a line that has been lived in. Otherwise, if someone ran a jetter through this recently, likely most of that film would be gone. So what I'm getting at here is I'm not seeing a lot of debris buildup. However, I don't know the occupancy level of this house. If you have one person living in a home, you're not always going to have a lot of buildup. But one thing I'm not a huge fan of is standing water in older, rougher pipe materials like this. You take the same belly and you put it in a plastic sewer line, and it has almost no chance of causing a problem because of the smoothness of the pipe walls. Not unless you're just abusing the thing like no tomorrow. So by and large, based on the lack of major debris buildup, I'm not seeing a lot of evidence here this spot is causing problems. My experience, though, with standing water in older pipe materials is it is more likely to cause a problem. So as the line sits currently, it is a functioning sewer line. That area there at the base of the drop provides a higher likelihood for blockages to occur. But because the amount of fall you have here, right now I'm leaning towards not recommending a fix on that. The whole vertical column here is clean. If this were backing up on some kind of consistent basis, even semi-frequently, we would have debris build up all over the place. And certainly in this location here before the hard dive. So that's a spot there where you could potentially develop a blockage, but it's only going to be under certain circumstances. It's going to require that very large items are going down the line, like big balls of toilet paper, wipes, paper towels, things of that nature. Otherwise, a spot like this is unlikely to lead to a problem. You've got some amount of standing water to get through here, but it's a pretty short-lived section. And if a blockage does develop, you have the advantage of that hard vertical drop right here that creates a lot of head pressure. You got a lot of gravity working in your favor. So that's my 2 cents on that. There's not even enough buildup in this line to even recommend cleaning on it. So as it sits right now, especially being that you've got a Y-in coming into the line just after we enter into the concrete, you got a lot less pipe, it looks like, is in your responsibility now that we're coming back in here with the line drained out. This is a line that, as it sits right now, appears to be functioning just fine. It's very clean. All the pipe we just scoped there out to the Y connection, that's the stuff I'm going to focus on. All of it is clean, has adequate flow, and is functioning properly at this time. The big thing when you have older lines, like I don't know if the interior pipe here is original cast iron. The big thing is just treating it right, and that area out there is very unlikely to cause a problem. I wouldn't be using any flushable wipes in general, but flushables are ones that get people. They kind of think they're not problematic, but they are, especially when they're wadded up like a softball. So keep that kind of stuff out of your line, and you're very unlikely to get buildup and blockages happening in that location there. Especially based on what we see here, there's almost no buildup in the line to speak of. And that often tells the story on how a line handles these spots like this. If you have an area that's causing even semi-frequent issues, you're going to have buildup up the sidewalls and the top of the sewer line especially. That tells you it's at least caused a blockage, and I don't see any of that here today. So that's why I'm not recommending a fix on that cast iron section there with the standing water.